Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to StrangeCast, Player One vs. World's Life is Strange fan podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adnan. My co-host Adam is here. Adam, you here?
I am physically here. There is the I am in the physical metaverse thing.
And what does Falcon from Games Ranks do in the physical metaverse? Does he write lists on them?
I don't want to be sued by Game Ranks, man.
We're not going. We have. This is the Falcon podcast now.
The
we are showing
Falcon
ultimate
podcast?
respect. Yes.
Because two people think I sound like Falcon, so now there's a theory of me being the actual face of Falcon.
I don't think it's just two people either. I think it's a lot of people as well.
It's so many people. It's half the world thinks I'm Falcon. Hi, folks. How you doing?
There we go. Yes, so we're back as well. And Adam, you've had a good week as well after the recent Super Bowl and your homeboys.
Yes. My Philadelphia Eagles have won the Super Bowl, and Kendrick Lamar had an amazing halftime show that went over everybody's head. So that was great. That nobody understood the messaging, but yeah, good Super Bowl. Absolutely smacked the Chiefs. So I'm very, very, very pleased about that.
Yes, it was very interesting. All the drama was from that. I think it was the most drama-filled Super Bowl I've seen. I haven't watched it, but in terms of the reaction, people were
yeah,
Taylor Swift's being booed and Travis Kelce's crying and Kendrick Lamar's doing this and there's Serena Williams dancing. I'm like, oh, this is actually
yeah, exactly. Serena Williams was doing a crip walk, and I was like, what the hell? No, yeah, it's the fact that the Chiefs were going in for a three-peat. And they just couldn't. And not only that they couldn't pull through a three-peat, but they got absolutely dominated by the Eagles. I've never seen a Super Bowl like this, where it's just one team was actually getting just stomped on. But the team that was getting stomped on was going for a three-peat. That doesn't happen. So, lovely show. Eagles won. Go Birds. And the city is destroyed now.
There you go. And you know what isn't a three-peat? StrangeCast. And StrangeCast is a two-peat, because what you're going to get here is a two-part episode. But before we talk about that as well, if you are new here, please do consider dropping subscribe on the channel, turn notifications, like the video, share with your friends, help support the channel. We talk about all things Life is Strange, all things Lost Records, Don't Nod, Deck 9, Square Enix. It's your home to be for this content. And StrangeCast is available on all podcast services, so we're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everything. So go and check us out. Go and rate us and go and download us. We have 286 followers on Spotify and about 41 ratings as well at 4.8. So thank you so much for that. So do rate us. It boosts our visibility for other people and you can find us. So me and Adam were talking about this off podcast because we're recording the 15th of February. And obviously we all know that Lost Records Bloom and Rage is coming out on the 18th. So Tape 1 Bloom will be released on that date. And because of how we're doing the podcast, you're going to get a two-part now. So we've done side A and side B before with StrangeCast, and we decided to break it off. So this is side A to start with, and it's going to be a conversation about Lost Records and the PlayStation Plus news as well, because we've had a couple of comments and people asking about it. So I thought it might just be smart for us to split this as well. And also as well, it will be available on podcast services and YouTube as well. So you'll get instant access, and they're going to be a day apart. And there's an interesting subject to be talking about on StrangeCast's second part. So you'll see when you get that. So, Adam, if anything, should we kick things off, obviously, with the big piece of news that came out from the week that we're recording?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if you are living under a rock, as you know, Lost Records Bloom and Rage is coming out next week, which I think at this point you'll hopefully get this episode on the 16th of February. And on the 18th it's coming out. But the big news happened because there was a state of play during the week, and it was confirmed that PlayStation Plus's game catalog for February was announced. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Top Spin 2K25, and Lost Records Bloom and Rage are now included in there. So just to confirm that as well, they'll be in the premium and extra
Somerville
PlayStation Plus. Well, it's a shame we're not a Somerville podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
So as you can see here, it is in the PlayStation blog. All the details there. We know how the game's played out, so I'm not going to repeat that. But it says the first episode of Lost Records Bloom Rage arrives on the 18th of February, with the second episode arriving as part of the PlayStation Plus game catalog April lineup. So it is in both catalogs. So it's going to be in this month and also in April as well, when the second tape is coming out, because the second tape has been delayed, as you've been made aware of before. And just to point out here as well, the Lost Records Twitter page tweet about it, said, "Did you catch Lost Records at PlayStation State of Play? We're excited to share that it will launch at 10% discount for all PlayStation Plus members and will be included in the PS Plus catalog for extra and premium members. So as the announcement was there, so there we go. I'm going to leave the screenshots out there, Adam, because there's a couple of like little screenshots from the game that we saw. I think it's probably footage that will be included in the launch trailer.
Yeah.
So caught a lot of people off left field as well, because it seemed that the game was naturally coming to launch in the process of where it's going to go. In terms of the 18th of April, people could go on, 18th of February, people could come and buy it. What did you make of this news when you saw it? Because it was a very unexpected few days, like almost like a week out from launch, that it was announced.
Yeah, no, it's it wasn't expected, but at the same time, it's not surprising either. A lot of people might be asking, it's like, why isn't it also coming to Game Pass, like Xbox Game Pass?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first and foremost, because Game Pass is ass. Second of all, like we're getting the physical edition of this game, but it's only coming out on PlayStation. PlayStation is getting the physical release. So why wouldn't it come out just on PS Plus? So if it was getting a physical release on every console, sure, like why not? So that's one thing. Like, why just PS Plus? Why not Game Pass? It's because they have a deal with PlayStation. I imagine that Don't Nod has a special relation with PlayStation, even though I think about it, Don't Nod has more of a relationship with Xbox than it does PlayStation, if I'm correct. Like the history of it, because again, Jusant was on it. Jusant was on Game Pass. Tell me why it was published by Xbox. Yeah, like it is. Now that I'm saying it out loud, Don't Nod has more of a backing relationship with Xbox than it does PlayStation in its history.
I would say so.
Yeah. So now, yeah, that is interesting. So it is surprising. But the fact that we got the announcement of a PlayStation physical release, so yeah, no duh. On the terms of it going on PlayStation Plus, it's kind of telling. Now this isn't really a studio decision. Stuff like this that happens, it's a publishing decision. I think people need to get that right. That Michelle Ko wasn't the one that said, like, can we come on PlayStation Plus, please? Like, this is a publisher decision. So the team over, I'm assuming in Paris, right, are the ones who are making this decision. And it's kind of telling, because we've already, I know I'm going on a long tangent here, but we've already reported on Lost Records that, and even StrangeCast, that Don't Nod is going under some financial difficulties. Let's put it that way. They've already frozen 2 games over these financial decisions. There are union fights in Don't Nod. So there's some financial decisions that are just leading them to say, hey, let's guarantee some sales money. Let's take some deals and put it on PlayStation. So I don't blame them on that. But understand that they're going on PlayStation Plus because they know they can get money from it. I was telling you this off podcast, that one of the worst decisions of any studio was Sledgehammer. No, the ones who made Callisto Protocol. I don't know if they called the studio Sledgehammer.
Yes.
Yeah, but
I know what you're mean.
Yeah, so the studio behind of Callisto Protocol, when they got offered the PlayStation, the Xbox Game Pass deal, he's like, no way are we going to put ourselves on there. And I was even thinking, it's like, nobody is caring about Callisto Protocol. It's going to bomb. And I think it did commercially bomb. Like, I don't think it did commercially well. And then like a year later, it came on the Game Pass after the studio had already shut down, essentially. So it's one of those things that, like, for a very niche game, I think you need to be on PlayStation Plus. I think you need to be on Game Pass to guarantee those sales so that you can tell your shareholders, we're going to be making this much. So it's shocking, but it's also not surprising, is what I'm trying to get around to. Yeah.
I would agree, because I think you've hit a lot of the points I felt on this as well. Because I think it's a very smart decision to make because of the climate of the gaming industry and also the game in itself. It's also a double-edged sword as well, because it's both going to be positives and negatives from this as well. Because I've already seen people saying, "Oh, I don't have to buy the game anymore because it's on PS Plus," and it's like, "Ooh, that was a guaranteed sale there. And it's like, you might be getting the returns from PlayStation. But for example, here's the other one. What happens if this takes off and becomes a sleeper hit, for example? Because some people might buy it, but then they're like, oh, actually, you're locked into a deal with PlayStation. I can just play the second part when it comes out in April.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a rare example of it happening because we guarantee a success for a new IP, which, for example, the marketing has kind of struggled to crack through with people. So that's a wild kind of thing. But for me, I think this has been strategically placed because it came out of left field, if anything, more recently, because it's like, oh, actually, we announced this deal. I was like, and it might explain, for example, why there's no pre-orders. So the pre-order conversation we had, I did say that there's like technical reasons why people can like usually not do pre-orders, and it feels like this was leading into this. It felt like a decision has been made. I agree with you. I think that this obviously is not Don't Nod Montreal's decision, in my opinion, at least. I think this has come from Paris, from its publishing and developing arm there as well. And that they've probably signed the deal with it in terms of getting on PS Plus, because Don't Nod has stakeholders. It is a publicly listed company. And in itself as well, the only games that they are going to announce this year are coming out, which is either Lost Records now and then Koira in April, which I still think will be pushed back because of how close it's coming out to Tape 2. And then they're going to announce the game, which we'll be talking about in the second part of StrangeCast. I don't expect that game to move the needle. They're going to be reporting earnings in the first half of 2025. What Gilbert has to show something here. He's backed up in a corner because Don't Nod had a fiscally terrible 2024. They had an absolute horrible 2024, and it's like they need to like show it on the books that something has happened here. If you have a good deal which is set in stone with PlayStation for Lost Records, you might get some kind of commercial drive in terms of revenue early into the game. So that will probably be helpful for stakeholders, if anything. But generally speaking, it is really like, I feel like it's a roll of the dice and they're hoping to get sixes, if anything. I think that's what it is. I think it's like this could spectacularly backfire, or it could be like a really good positive move where it's going to transcend the game into a different place where it's like not necessarily like a huge blockbuster hit, but it's steady sales, steady income, steady revenue, things that Jusant, for example, have lacked, things like Harmony that have lacked. So it's going to give you a bit more kind of foundation. And when you talk about Games Pass as well, we've talked about it before when it's like, Bobby Kotick, when he did the FTC trials, whatever you think about Bobby Kotick as the Activision's former president and CEO, at the end of the day, Bobby Kotick said in that trial where he's like, why would we put Call of Duty on Games Pass? And it's like, thank you. Like, even if you don't like him, he's still a businessman. He's very savvy and he knows that Call of Duty makes $1 billion at minimum. Like, in terms
games
of
like Call of Duty don't need to be on Game Pass.
No.
But Jusant did, like it gives spotlight to like people need spotlights. But like you said, Call of Duty, why? Why would you want to?
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing as well, because one thing that's happened in the space of the PlayStation announcement, this has been covered in news outlets. So Lost Records has been featured in like titles on like websites and stuff. It's been featured in like thumbnails. PlayStation has put it into its marketing. So PlayStation is now marketing this and driving it forward to a new audience. So when it comes out on its date, it's like, ooh, I have some spare time, and Lost Records' first part is only 6 hours. I might be able to like smash through this and like have a bit of enjoyment. So generally speaking, it's showing signs of good positivity, but I also think that they have, my own opinion at least, I feel like they've been backed into a corner here to do it. I feel like they needed like, oh, let's get a steady hit here and let's get some sales on it, because we've talked about it before, and I've known myself. Every time Square Enix does something recently with Final Fantasy VII and Rebirth and Remake, they're like, well, the sales aren't as strong as we had hoped for. And it's like, well, why is that? Because you made an exclusive deal with PlayStation. And then when you've just recently launched Rebirth onto PC, it's like, oh, the concurrent numbers are really high here with Steam. It's like, I wonder why. I wonder why, if you didn't box yourself into a corner with it. And I was saying to your podcast as well, Adam, it's like we've seen Square Enix with Phil Spencer recently propping up here and there. It's like, oh, well, we can make some good relationships. Square's had a bad history with this as well, because remember as well, another example, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, was it Rise of the Tomb Raider? Rise of the Tomb Raider. Made an exclusive at launch. So when it was part of, as they called it, Xbox's greatest lineup in history, it was in 2015, Rise of the Tomb Raider was part of like that lineup, and then it came to PlayStation afterwards, and it's like, was that sacrifice really needed? Like, Tomb Raider's an established IP. I think for them, with Lost Records, this is a smart decision to make. However, I do think that this has been like a poker tournament moment where you've just like in a casino moment where you just rolled the dice and you're hoping it lands on what you want, because it's like this could spectacularly backfire, truthfully, because for me, we know that the review embargo gets lifted in the week that the game comes out. Obviously, we've got a very small time frame, but some stupid influencer online had nicely showed me when the review embargo is going to get lifted, which is apparently on the 18th of February when the game comes out. And that's a conversation itself for me and you, Adam. But one thing that's happened here, which I've seen where it's like, actually, we're getting to launch with the game. I think that they're just trying to get people to play it, because I don't have a problem with the quality of the product, i.e. Banishes, i.e. What's called Tucson, i.e. a lot of their games. They've been critically received well. The one thing that's become very apparent for me during this entire conversation, I feel like I've been going on for a while here. The one thing that's become very apparent for me is that Don't Nod really struggles to market things. Their marketing arm of their division is so weak from a publishing standpoint. And even so, I would argue from like stuff that's been shown from like Gerda, for example, and like Portplay, they published a smaller game and could give limited resources to marketing. And the marketing for this game has struggled to cut through with a wider audience that I found. So they've been struggling to kind of like get to the bigger audience of people being like, oh, actually get involved with this. That also includes, for example, the STGV strikes that have been happening since last October, even not a bit earlier than that. That doesn't include, for example, the general strike that recently happened as well. We'll be talking about in the second part of the episode. These things are all catching up to Don't Nod. And last month they were hit by strike action, and the game hasn't been promoted as much. And I've seen it as well. It's nice to see the really creative stuff from Don't Nod, like when it's like, oh, here's a puzzle about lost records and get involved. Really nice. But the problem is that's just a very niche marketing technique in terms of people who are interested in it will do it. Not other people. People want it to be smack bang in your face and be like, ooh, and explosions and bang, 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 and swans like flying on a skateboard. Yeah. They want that. They want your attention to be grabbed and be like, oh, actually, I've kind of got here. Let's get that. But like, this game hasn't been shown on commercials. It hasn't been shown on TV. It's not on my bus in the UK where I can see it. Like, budgets are
not even on a double bus.
No, it was just me holding a Lost Records poster, being like, buy it. That's what it was. I was doing the market. I was doing it myself. That's it. But it shows that the fragility with Don't Nod in terms of marketing, and I think they have basically gone into this corner with that, and I think they've just decided, actually, let's just do this deal. I think in itself as well, I think they've realized that maybe PlayStation's more of a commercially lucrative platform than Xbox, for example, more so on story focus. So instead of putting it on Games Pass where it might get lost, let's put it on PS Plus where they have these new 2 tiers that are involved with the other tier, and it's like people might actually just like, they might buy it, if anything. Like, that's one of those like little caveats with that. But one more thing, Adam, as well, actually. Let me just show you a couple of more details here, because I found them on here. And I just kind of fill them into the conversation here. So this was on, where I'm looking now, this was just Thursday. So this was the day after the state of play. So Don't Nod's stock had climbed 10%, and this was in the aftermath of the announcement that Lost Records was coming to PlayStation Plus's game catalog. I think it didn't really hold the earnings that came from it. And in the press release as well, there's a press release that said it for it. It says that its partnership will be accompanied by enhanced marketing support, offering optional visibility to players, which we've kind of talked about there. And then in there as well, it says Don't Nod said its partnership with Sony and PlayStation was part of its strategy of securing strategy of securing and maximizing revenues from its intellectual properties. So
yes,
fits into that. And then one more thing as well, minimal swag here. I got tagged in this tweet as well by, I think, someone called Seb. Thank you for that. And I can't verify this, so this is just from a claim from Minimal Swag, and it says that. And they said, from what I know, Don't Know was paid a larger than typical amount for a day one release of Lost Records on PlayStation Plus. The fact that it comes out episodic February and April made it more valuable to PlayStation as it requires more months of membership fees, good for our stakeholders. So as you can see there, more swag, so thingy, and I got tagged there by Seb. So thank you for that. So that's just kind of like an addition to that. But as you can see here, I didn't pull the full press release up when we were talking about it, because there's like a lot of just like, it's on PS Plus, it's 10% discount, etc. But those are two of the big takeaways where it says, as in the conversation, that it's a strategy of securing and maximizing revenues from its intellectual properties. And then also up here as well, where it was accompanied by enhanced marketing support, offering optimal visibility to players. So I think, Adam, if anything, it probably crosses off what we had both outlined in that conversation there, where it's like, they need someone.
Yeah.
They need someone.
Minimal Swag made a great point about like, you can't just like get PS Plus for a month and then go away. It's the same reason why, like Disney and Netflix, they put out episodic stuff now, so that you can't just buy a month of Netflix and then go about your day. Like it's going back to where television was. But no, that's a great point.
Well, technically, you could cancel it in between, but people are lazy, so that's what I think. I think that's where the catch is, where it's like, because obviously, if it was like Life is Strange, it would have banged for Sony, because like actually 8 months or so, like let's definitely sign this up because it actually could work out for them. But
yeah.
I think it's a smart idea from them. If anything, my earliest prediction is, and it's just an early prediction, I've been thinking about this as well. If this game underperforms in sales and doesn't succeed, this could be the caveat where they actually end up publishing with someone again. Because I don't think Lost Records is the end of it. Oscar Gilbert has greenlit this as a franchise, a series. They've set up Don't Nod Montreal. They're not going to shut down the shop straight away because it's not fair.
Yeah,
everything just goes off at the same time there. They're not going to shut the shop up and be like, we're done here. Well, I think if anything, it shows that maybe they try and secure a publisher in the future, and it's like they just handle the marketing side of things. So maybe there's a deal they can make where it's like, we don't have to sell all the IP away, but you have the extension of doing the marketing, and we'll pay you for that, or you get a cut of the share of the game that's being sold. Or, for example, it might be the vicious circle of Square Enix style, where it's like, we'll have to sell you the IP, and then we make the games. It's hard, man. It's a hard vein, man. Don't Nod since that like entire process of like restructuring and like the post Life is Strange era, nothing has cut through with marketing. Nothing has cut through. No major game barring Vampire, which was published with Focus, had relative success. Nothing else has cut through. Twin Mirror commercially flopped. Harmony flopped. Jusant flopped. Banishers flopped. They were written down as assets, both of those games. Nothing has stuck through. And it's a big part of Don't Nod's marketing. It's not the business that the games are poor or whatever else. The games are seen very well and are spoken about very well. It's getting them out to people who can control it. And I think that's where, for me, Oscar Gobert really needs to go back and like look at the studio and be like, maybe we should like try and reorganize the marketing division and try and like improve these infrastructure places where we've like suspended these 2 lines of projects. Let's try and sort this out and get a marketing place. Because, for example, if you have an STAGV strike that's happening against your studio and 100 people in Paris are walking out, give or take, imagine if that's all the marketing department in there and you have Lost Records around the corner. What have we been saying for the last 2 months where we're like, it's like, maybe the marketing is going to pick up towards release. Maybe it's going to pick up midway into the game. It's like, where's the marketing here? It's like, Marin and the brand managing of like Don't Nod Montreal have like only a certain amount of resources in Canada, but they rely on France. When Gamescom happened and you saw that massive display booth and that amazing look, that wasn't just Montreal. That was Don't Nod's financial arm actually in action, where the Paris division was helping support things. I'm just a little bit, we're very close out to release, but I just, it's a double-edged sword. This deal, and I'm like, okay, if it was my opinion and I was in this position, I would have done what they did, where they signed up to PlayStation Plus. I'm like, actually, I need people to play my game and see it, and hopefully there's a bit of a buzz and commotion over the 2 months where people play the second part. That's where I think they've taken the risk with it. And actually, whilst we can do it, we can financially latch ourselves onto PlayStation, and they'll give us like a good deal where we can make returns from it. And then obviously on other platforms, hopefully PC numbers are well, Xbox numbers are good. You're going to have to buy it. And all the other stuff. I think like that's what they've done. So I think, yes, a roll of the dice moment. And let's hope it lands on 6s and not 1s, if anything. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's something like you said, like it can backfire, but I think in their minds, like what's more of a backfire? The potential of PlayStation Plus or potential of not going PlayStation Plus, and they're just kind of like, which backfire do you want to potentially happen?
No, for sure, I completely agree. So, anything else, or should we wrap this first part up?
Let's wrap this first part up.
Okay, perfect. So I hope you all enjoyed that. As I said, we're going to split this up so we can try and get you some more content in between leading up to the release. We hope you're excited for it. Obviously, I'm very interested to see what the review consensus of this game as well when the embargo gets lifted. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you are new here, one more time, please do consider dropping subscribe on the channel, turn on notifications, like the video, and share with your friends. Help support the channel, helps keep up to date with all the content on the channel. And StrangeCast is available on all podcast services. So check us out on Spotify with the video version, Apple Podcasts. Go over there, follow us, rate us as well, because it helps boost our visibility, helps you get gets access to the episodes as soon as they come available, including these impromptu two-sided parts as well. They're not going to be frequent, don't worry. We've just kind of done this as a strategic move. Hey, just like the PlayStation Plus deal, very strategic podcast maneuver. PlayStation, if you want StrangeCast, we got an email. Let us know. Anyway, stay tuned. The second part will drop very soon, and obviously we've got some very interesting things to say in there. Take care, guys. See you later. Bye.
Later.
Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.